Welcome to the Blooming League of Original Podcasts.
G'day and welcome to an extra nerdy edition of Thrash and Treasure, the torture chamber musical comedy podcast where Pee-wee rode kilometers away before realizing his bike was stolen. And speaking of roadkill, I'm Aaron, and I'm joined as unusual by my arch nemesis, my direct competition, the good guy to my evil bitch, because he's stepping in at the last minute like any superhero would. Musical theater radio fans know him as writer, director, actor, and host. It's John Paul Yovanoff.
Yay!
That was a bit too excited though for a co-host. So harsh. Welcome to the show. I know you have wanted to get an invite for a long time.
Sure, and Aaron, thank you so much. I love being your seventh or eighth choice.
No,
it's an honor.
No. For listeners at home, this was a short-term booking work because the guests we've got today, we've been, waiting for quite a while. As I've said a long time, we're willing to wait for the best of the best guests that we can. And then when this was booked, I said to my co-host, okay, so who's available at this time and who doesn't know chess and Iron Maiden? And everybody was booked up. Out of all three co-hosts, I'm holding up four fingers. Out of all three, so just by luck. So I messaged two people. One of them was JP, and the other one was actually past guest Craig, because I know he loved his experience on the show and he wants to come back anyways. And you answered first. You took the alternate cheerleader chair. So thank you so much for stepping in at the very, very last minute. You know chess. You didn't know this metal album. So
I do know chess. Yes, I do.
Not just the game.
No, not just the game. Oh.
As I said in your introduction, JP, you are my arch nemesis because you do run another theater podcast on another network, which is your own network. So this is like Warner Brothers and Disney coming together right now on this show, battling it out with musical theater and heavy metal. So would you like to tell our listeners a little bit about MTR radio? I did it again. It's like saying fucking ATM machine.
Yep.
It's MT radio or musical theater radio or just MTR, which your podcast is Be Our Guest. So anyways, I'll let you.
Sure, why not? I'm here. I might as well talk about myself for a little bit. Musical Theater Radio is my internet radio station where we play show tunes from around the world, old, new, popular, and rare, with a mandate to help promote new creators and their works. Now, unfortunately for all your listeners in Australia, we don't have music licensing for there. It's very expensive. You guys are expensive. Let me just tell you.
That's racist.
But you're not as expensive as Finland. So there's that.
Oh.
I can be heard in the US, the UK, and Canada, but I also have a podcast. Yes, I am your arch nemesis in that regard. Be Our Guest. It's as simple as that. I don't have any metal talk on it, but we do like to talk to, a little bit of everything. New creators, accountants, publicists, a little bit of everything for everybody.
Yep, even village idiots like me got an invite onto your show.
Even village idiots like you. Yes.
Let's just tell our listeners how low the bar is over there. No, that's awful. I'm sorry.
That's okay. You know what? We're in Canada. I'll apologize for you saying that.
Yes, that's it. Now, and also you're a writer and director and composer.
I am. Yeah, a little bit of everything. I'm a jack of all trades, writer, producer, director, not choreographer, a little bit of everything.
A jack of all trades, a master of none.
Yeah, I'm still better than most people. So...
And humble too.
Well, yeah, obviously. I'm Canadian, but I'm not that Canadian. I'm not apologizing for that.
I realized that I can't say Canadian without saying it like a Canadian says Canadian.
How do I say Canadian?
Canadian.
Well, maybe it's just me.
No, it's all Canadians.
Is it? Oh.
Yeah, there's an old couple that live around the corner. They moved over here in their retirement. I always see the lady walking her dog. I've been seeing her for like 15 years. I haven't seen her in a while, actually. Maybe she's dead. Oh, I hope not.
Well, that happens. That's called life.
Yeah, well, it's called death, but, Well, okay, you're a writer director. What have you done? Like, tell us a bit about some of the shows you've created.
Sure.
I'm trying to sell you, JP. Trying to whore you out.
I've written my own show many moons ago called Paradise Island. about a guy who goes down to a tropical island because he's sick and tired of his life and his misadventures over 24 hours. It is a musical comedy at its comediest. So it is funny. I work at a theater company called Vanier College Productions at York University. I am an associate producer there. We just finished a season, first one back live since the pandemic, which was fantastic. I directed a world premiere of a new musical called For Show. Gave an opportunity to a couple of writers who just graduated from Tisch, NYU's Tisch writing program.
Oh, that's the one with the teacher or the dean that did the dancing on the YouTube when everyone was complaining about their fees. And she's like, oh, I'm just going to dance. What a bitch. I loved it.
I think that might have been a lucid dream you had.
No, that was Tisch. That was the dean of Tisch. You can look it up. People complained about COVID and their fees and they weren't going to school. And what about our fees? And all she could do was post a video of her dancing to a song. Look it up. It is wonderful.
As a side note, she just died.
Oh, did she?
Yes, in November. If it's the same person.
What? I need to look this up. Sorry, I just got so excited. That's the voice I use for my dog.
Probably shouldn't put this in the show, but yeah, if it's the same person, she died in November.
Yeah, REM's Losing My Religion, which is funny because we actually talk about that song in the episode I'm about to post. The school's dean, which it doesn't say who she is.
The school's, it might not be the program's dean. The head of the program died. I don't know if it's the dean of NYU.
Oh, no, you're thinking of Dean Oppenheim?
No, that's the bomb person.
Oh, no, that was 2009. He wasn't a bomb person. What are you talking about?
Oppenheimer.
Oh, okay, yeah. No, that's like years ago.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about.
You can see it online. I'm just trying to find her name so I can find it if she's the one that died. Alison Green. Okay. Is she still alive? Oh, she's listed as a choreographer. Yes, anyway, so guess what?
No.
We have a legendary Asgardian diva in the studio today. So roll out the gold carpet while I hammer it home how this hero is heralded as king of the SuperNerds, especially after his explosive entry into entertainment via an event horizon, which had his eyes on dozens of episodes of the extraterrestrial hit series Andromeda and launched this lovable legend into the Twilight Zone for a stint that left him on the fringe. Ooh, Joshua Jackson, call me. Not to forget his journey as a journo, where this good sport illustrated Entertainment Weekly before winding up with writer Ashley Edward Miller, with whom this wonderful wordsmith whipped open a wormhole that welcomed a wobot or two into the writer's room with the wonderful Terminator, the Sarah Connor Chronicles, which helped this icon to strike lightning as he raced over to the CW in a flash for the Flash. So please help me flash a huge Aussie g'day and a oi, gimme your lunch money to this android author and puppy papa who gave us pause to think with X-Men's First Class, worked K9 to 5 for Agent Cody Banks, and tossed a bone into the rim of the wall that came out wrong. And that's what she said as we welcome to the torture chamber a royal son of Odin who defrosted and thawed the Bifrost for Thor, Chris Hemsworth, also call me, and lucky for me, we get to welcome to Jurassic Park this delectable dinosaur doctor who devilishly delivered the Velociraptor to the universe of Universal's universally beloved Jurassic franchise when he put the creator in Camp Cretaceous. Shut up, that worked. So before we go extinct, please put your claws together with force and roar like a tyrannosaur for the awesome writer, journalist, producer, and teacher, because it's the one and only Mr. Zack Stentz. Yay! Welcome to the torture chamber. How are you going? Finally.
That has to be the best introduction I've ever gotten. You need to be my hype man from now on.
Please hire me. Please hire me. And any conventions or anywhere out there you want to hire me, you got my email. I'll give you my fee. Anyways, thank you so much for enjoying it. I was worried.
Delightful to be here.
And I have The Lost World Jurassic Park poster on my wall. I have my Jurassic Park t-shirt on. And I have my Loki mug, which I ruined in the dishwasher when the gold logo came off on Christmas morning when I first got it.
I'll take your word for it. I did that with my my daughter's Adventure Time glasses, and she may forgive me someday.
Oh, no. Yeah, it's easy. You got to read the instructions, kids. But anyway, how are you going? Thank you so much for taking the time, because I know you are remarkably busy.
It's my pleasure to be here, and you're the one that got up early in the morning, so I feel like I have gotten the better part of the deal so far.
No. JP and I do coffee all the time, and it's usually around 12, 1 a.m. That's sort of mid-afternoon for me. This is my evening, so I'm wide awake. Like I'll be in bed in 3 or 4 hours and sleep the day away.
Gotcha.
How are your puppies?
Oh, they're all resting in the next room. I took them out on a let's see, you use kilometers in Australia, right?
Yes.
8 or 9 kilometer hike in the mountains yesterday, so they're sleeping it off today.
Yeah, awesome. I'm sleeping it off, thinking about walking that far. But anyways, now, admittedly, I haven't actually seen the final season of Camp Cretaceous yet because I haven't renewed my Netflix in a while. I can only afford 17 streaming bloody services at any given time, and I think I'm paying for 24 at the moment. So please, no spoilers for that.
Quite all right.
Yep. But how many years? Because I know I can tell you how many years I have. 30 exactly. How many years have you longed to sink your teeth into something Jurassic?
Oh my goodness. Since I read the Michael Crichton novel when it first came out, I've wanted to do that for ages, frankly. And as a career highlight, having my name in the credits in that Jurassic font in between Steven Spielberg and Michael Crichton.
Stop. No, you're giving me goosebumps.
Put that up on mom's refrigerator.
Yep. I get that. Like, I know what that's like for so many years to think you're never going to be a part of that franchise.
Yeah.
And suddenly you are.
Yeah, the analogy I always use is it's being a part of a franchise that a long-running franchise that you love is like being a stonemason on one of those Gothic cathedrals. You know, you look at it and you know that it's something beautiful, and you know you didn't do the whole thing, but you can point towards a little section of it and say, yeah, that part was me, and I'm a little part of something wonderful.
Mm-hmm. That's it. And actually, I really did enjoy what I've seen so far. I was really enjoying it because it didn't do what Willow did, servicing the movie. You went on your own tangent. The story went on its own. We created our own characters. I wish you had have killed one of them off by now. As I say, I haven't seen the final season, so maybe one of them does. But that's just because I think kids need to toughen up. And, you know, Bambi's mum died. Think of it. How much tougher are we all today for it? You know, we grew up with so many of these characters, or their parents getting killed off or stuff like that. It is time we toughen up. Even Buffy died 2 or 3 times. Harry Potter technically died at the end of those novels and chose to come back alive. So...
But he got better.
Well, that's it. But anyways, okay, so if wishes were dinosaurs, we would all get eaten. So which dino would you want to be gobbled up by?
You know, I have to go with the classic T-Rex, the one that we all grow up with. I feel like it would be pretty quick as well, whereas raptors seem like they might play with their food. Yeah. So I would go with quick death at the teeth and claws of a classic.
Hollywood, please put me in a Jurassic Park film so I can get eaten by a dinosaur one day. For one thing. Now, JP, what dinosaur would you want to be eaten by?
See, I'm going to take a different approach. I want to be eaten by a brontosaurus because I know they're vegetarian. So if I got eaten, nobody's going to forget me. I'm the only guy who's ever been eaten by a vegetarian.
Yeah.
So I'm going with brontosaurus. I know it's inaccurate, but I'm going with it.
Yeah, it's going to take a long time because they didn't have teeth.
I didn't say it would be enjoyable.
No, it would like crush you. You'd be crushed. You wouldn't be eaten. You'd be crushed.
Yeah.
And you'd be crushed further as you go down the neck, as the neck muscles. Don't ask me how I know this shit. I would actually want to be eaten by a flying dinosaur because take me for a bloody flight first. Like, what more could you ask for? Seriously, as a huge Jurassic Park fan. So yes, please give me that. Fly me across the landscape and then feed me to your babies. That's what I want. So a flying dinosaur. I don't care which type.
That's reasonable. That's
it. Now, just one last question. I'm going to make sure I throw this in here. Are you sick of Aussies rocking up to auditions yet?
No, not at all. Our joke is that America has stopped kind of producing leading men, so we have to import them from Australia and Ireland now.
Yep.
I feel like there's a breeding facility out in the outback where you just grow Hemsworth for us.
Yeah, there is. I've been there. You're not allowed to take photos, but...
We grow them out in BC.
Do you?
Yeah, Ryan Reynolds.
And Joshua Jackson.
Yep.
Anyways, we'll move on to the musical now because we're going to do chess. So before we discuss that, I'm going to read my review, which I apologize if it doesn't make sense. I usually write it in one sitting. This time I didn't. I wrote it in 2. Yeah, this is a very historical show. Tim Rice, Benny and Bjorn from ABBA, which I guess technically is Babu.
Yeah, true.
Such a dad joke. Anyways, when I was first given chess, I had to wonder, why'd you have to do this to me? I've never played a game of it, let alone listen to this musical. If only because I know it's a massively popular show that seems to only be done in concert form these days, and we all know how I feel about concert versions. So, like a queen, I unfolded Spotify and whipped out the porn. Oh, ew, wait, no. I polished off the bishop. Oh, shit, no, that's worse. Anyways, it appears we have this strange mix of light, airy classical with a slick 80s rock flavor that both established themselves in Murano. With crushing cymbals, we're introduced to the high-octane world of nerd sports, overseen by the Arbiter, fresh from Miami Vice, whose eponymous song is sleazy but also very wordy in parts. And although it's sleazy, it's also catchy, like herpes, as well as educational with the rules of chess. Anyways, we meet the players, Freddy and Anatomy, as well as their lovers, Florence and Svetlana, and follow their love quadrangle, also known as a square, set against a tense political backdrop. And I would go on and on and on with a slow, boring play-by-play, but that would be the game chess, or musical theatre radios be our guest. Ooh, sick burn me. That's JP's show, by the way. Anyways, I couldn't tell you the story, but I did much prefer the more pop-infused 80s moments more than I did the balladry, and often had the urge to put on a leotard headband and leg warmers to tighten up my glutes to the more upbeat tracks. So after 20 or so listens, was I won over by the drama, passion, and romance? If you replace the romance with sleaze, then yes, but I'd need a fully realized production and not just a bunch of queens standing on the spot. So as an album, 3.5 stars. Lyrically, it was sometimes too verbose in parts and musically too slow in others, but together it makes for a fascinating and unique, even exciting experience, unlike the game, which inspired it. Ooh, sick burn me. But I've since had thoughts. This needs to be a country rock musical.
A country rock musical.
Yes, The Deal. Listen to that again. That's a country song. Now, take that concept and stretch that out over the whole show. You've got the black and the white of, okay, I'll say that and people think I'm talking about races. I'm talking about chess, the two sides, the good cowboy and you got the evil cowboy. You've got the Americans and the Russians. Why not? This is a country musical. I'm sorry.
Here's my trivia question for you.
Yep.
Do you know the connection between the chess musical and Buffy the Vampire Slayer?
Yes, Murray Head, Anthony Stewart Head.
Ah, you knew that.
I knew that anyways. I didn't know this show apart from one snippet of a commercial from 1997 when it played here with Daryl Braithwaite. That's all I've ever known of chess. I didn't know One Night in Bangkok. I didn't know any of that. I knew the character names and I know it's a Natalie.
Wait, One Night in Bangkok wasn't a big hit in Australia?
Maybe, but I missed it.
Before your time?
Just some things I missed. This had been done, as I say, 97, but failed. So I never saw it then. And it's since been done a couple of times amateur or professionally in a concert version, which I'm not interested in seeing a concert. If I want to go to a concert, I'll see a concert. If I want a symphony concert, I'll see that. If I want to see theater, I'm going to see theater. I hate this cheap concert because the ticket prices are the same. Why are you charging me $150 for no costumes, no sets? The band taking up half the stage or the orchestra. So anyways, didn't know anything. And it was a very interesting time listening to this because, as I say, it's so unbalanced in a lot of ways. But if you turn it into a country musical, that'll fix it.
Don't you think in the wake of the huge international success of the Queen's Gambit, which kind of mixed chess and Cold War and romance together, that this is primed for a comeback?
I haven't seen it.
I believe it is getting a comeback in Broadway.
Yeah.
There's talks of a revival.
Yeah. Well, but also a lot of things are supposed to be coming back, but COVID threw a spanner in that works, didn't it?
Yeah.
Because everything's gotten pushed back and will things happen? And, I didn't watch the Queen's Gambit.
That was more of a character study than thrilling blow-by-blow of chess strategy. And Anya Taylor-Joy is pretty terrific.
Yes. I actually watched The Menu again yesterday. She is wonderful, and I can't wait to see her career blossom. And also someone else you've worked with, Jenna Ortega. Her in Five Cream, as we call it, she was fantastic. I loved her. She was the best part of that.
Yeah. No, she's a she's a superstar now.
That's where I'd sort of first noticed her, and I didn't realize that I'd been hearing her in Camp Cretaceous. Anyways, that's about chess. Now, JP, you've done this, I believe. Mm-hmm. Who did you play?
I played Anatoly. I played the Russian. So stage production and amateur
Oh,
production.
Anatoly. What did I call him?
Yes,
Anatoly.
Yeah, that's why I was confused. I was like, have they added another character to the show?
This
So-
Yeah, well, this morning I was talking about Nightmare on Elm Street. Twice I said Nightmare Before Christmas. So
Any difference? As someone who's actually who's been in the musical, what are your thoughts about it?
I love that show. As you probably did, Zach, One Night in Bangkok back in '84 when it came out, and loved that song. And I didn't know it was from a musical. I don't know if you did at that point.
I didn't, and it's hilarious that it was a huge hit, given that when you listen to the lyrics are very clearly referring to events in the musical that hadn't even come out yet when the song was released.
Yeah. And I don't know, how old was I at that point? 84. I was like 11, and quoting things like massage parlors and the queens we use would not excite you, not having a clue what any of that meant, but loving it nonetheless.
I was very disappointed when they did the Westworld remake and they didn't have the tagline for the show, be a show with everything but Yul Brynner.
Yes, that would be awesome. I love Tim Rice. It's my favorite lyricist. So everything about that show I enjoy.
a few of these songs were actually turned into singles, and there are video clips. There's one of them, To Nobody's Side, where Elaine Page is standing there sort of just going like this, like she's playing drums that aren't there. And I every time I watch it, I think it's the funniest thing, because why is she doing this? It's so 80s. The Arbiter was turned into a video clip. I know him so well, and I think Heaven Help My Heart was as well. So these songs individually were massive hits. There was just a disconnect, I think, when it was released on the West End, or when it premiered on the West End, and then on Broadway it was rewritten.
I think it was a little late too. Like the timing for making it to Broadway wasn't great. It was such a Cold War thing. By the time it came to Broadway, we were in the middle of Perestroika. It's like, wait, we like the Russians now. Yes, there was a time. A very brief little window there. So I think it was kind of a victim of geopolitical timing. But yeah, the music is certainly enduring. I think several of those songs from it are pretty canonical.
Yeah, it blows my mind how I haven't heard them in a commercial, in a movie, or a needle drop somewhere. Surely I would have. No, One Night in Bangkok's totally new.
The Hangover 2.
No, I didn't like The Hangover 1. Sorry.
Yeah, at the end of The Hangover 2, Mike Tyson comes out and sings One Night in Bangkok on karaoke. You didn't miss a lot, but other than Mike Tyson singing One Night in Bangkok.
Gosh, if I knew that, I would have watched that on YouTube, because surely that's been plagiarized.
I'm sure.
No, look, I enjoyed it, but I can hear where the disconnect may have been in terms of the music.
It's very of its era, that mix of kind of straight up rock songs with very kind of classical Broadway composition and kind of ping-ponging back and forth between them. But it's also the combination of Tim Rice and the two ABBA guys works way better than it has any right to. He might even be better with them than Andrew Lloyd Webber.
But I was going to say, Chess is actually the best show to be in concert, because the book has problems, and they tried to rewrite it and they still had problems. So putting those great songs in concert is actually probably the best way to do this show.
Yeah, no, I've seen the show, and you're right. The show, is kind of dramatically inert in a couple of places, but the songs are toe tappers.
Everything on either the Broadway or the London or the Josh Groban concert version. You gotta love them all. Yeah.
The Grobes. Oh, goodness gracious me. I'm just looking for my segue. Anyways, we'll go to no break. It looks like that was a checkmate. It's about time I got paid. So we're going to go to an ad break. I don't know why I wrote that. Oh, yeah, check.
Hey there! It's time to get popped on Culture, the official Puzzle Hub pop quiz podcast. And welcome to game number 5. I'm your new host, Matt Young, and for today's special theme, we're going to test your knowledge on musical groups, including bands, boy bands, girl groups, and vocal ensembles. Play against your friends or the clock and see how you go. Alright, let's get into it, shall we? Game 1. Songs in the key of words. I'm going to give you 3 key words that appear within 8 different songs. Pretty simple. If you guess the song correctly on the first keyword, give yourself 3 points. If you guess it on the second, give yourself 2 points. Which of course means give yourself 1 for guessing it on the third and final keyword. So let's see how you go. Ready? First clue. Fantasy. Landslide. Reality. That was Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen. Second clue. Lights. Carrie. Home. Of course, that's All the Small Things by Blink-182. Next up, Valentino. Crystal. Italian. That's right, it was Manic Monday by the Bangles. I was kissing Valentino by a crystal blue Italian stream. Alrighty, fourth, picked, bunch, glance. I Want You Back by the Jackson 5. How are you going so far? Next up, lady, glitters, buying. Have a Stairway to Heaven by Led Zeppelin. Lonely, gazing, window. That one was a little bit hard for me, but that was Waterfalls by TLC. Here's our seventh clue. Walked, smile, cool. Of course, that was Stop by Spice Girls. And lastly, honey, bees, envy. My Girl by The Temptations. And time's up. So until the next game, I've been Matt, you've been Popped on Culture, and I shall see you next time. See ya!
Anyways, you're listening to Thrash and Treasure. I'm Aaron. That is MTR host John Paul Yovanoff, and we are joined by Hollywood screenwriter and king of the nerds, Zack Stentz. I am saying that correctly, yes? Stentz.
Yes, you are. Yes.
That's all right then. So we have had to clarify some people. I wasn't sure if it was like Polish or something, and the TZ might have a ch sound to it, or
It's German. It's
German. Yeah.
So if you pronounce it the German way, it would technically be Stentz, but no one does that in the US.
Anyways, we're going to move on because we're going to move on to the metal now. Have you had much experience with metal, heavy metal, glam?
I actually spent most of my teenage years resisting the allure of metal because I associated it with the kids who like to beat me up in high school.
Oh shit! Sorry. Oh no, you're like the 10th guest I've triggered.
I was all about Bowie. I was all about alt rock. I was all about those things, and only as an adult did I kind of come back to it and realize, like, okay, objectively speaking, this is great stuff. So, we have a satellite radio station or satellite radio service here, Sirius XM, and one of the station I find myself listening to the most is Ozzy's Boneyard, which is all like classic metal from the 80s. Like, it's wonderful because it's not overplayed for me. It's like, it's new to me. So I'm just really enjoying it, particularly, Iron Maiden and, Judas Priest and, Ronnie James Dio. Those are kind of my triumvirate right now.
If you could put anything, and I mean anything, I don't want serious, sensible, I want crazy, over the top, what would you put on your Rockstar Rider?
On my Rockstar Rider, wow. It would not be brown M&Ms. It would probably be, like served champagne by a dwarf or something.
Wow, yeah, politically incorrect, but yes. I was expecting puppies, actually, or something to do with puppies for some reason. The guest this morning said 100 virgins, so I made a joke about it. It's going to be male, female, and non-binary virgins.
Yeah, about 100 incels. You get 100 virgins, but they're all incredibly hostile.
Oh shit! I wish I had have thought of that at the time. Anyways, we'll move on. No, JP, I want to know what's in yours because I've never asked you this. What would be in your Rockstar Rider? And will it include puppies?
I honestly have never thought about it because, I'll never be that good to require a rider.
That's not what the question was, for crying out loud. We want water thrown to you from the Queen of England from a fucking plane or something. That's what we want. Anyway, sorry, not to criticize.
Which Queen of England? Camilla?
Oh,
Sure.
that was then, wasn't it? Sorry.
Yes.
I put my foot down a long time ago about bottled water, so we haven't actually had it as an answer in a long while. Yes, Camilla.
I got nothing.
You got nothing.
I got nothing.
All right, well, let's move on then, because Zach, you chose the metal album as well this week. You chose Iron Maiden's Peace of Mind.
It's a pun because it's Piece rather than Peace.
Oh, I didn't pick up. I should have picked up on that.
Peace of mind.
Oh, God, I don't notice anything. Crying out loud. Oh my God, fathers. Like things were right in front of my face and I just didn't notice it. Yeah, I get it now. Oh, look, I got it all along. I'll edit it. Make myself look good. JP, let's move on very, very quickly.
All right.
You reviewed.
So I got to listen to Iron Maiden's Peace of Mind from 1983. I guess we'll start with the first song on the album, Where Eagles Dare. It's an okay song, but it didn't inspire me to listen to the rest of the album. It didn't have that hook for the first song, but I'm thinking like an old man. All you youngins in your Spotifys where order doesn't matter probably don't care as much because you just jump from song to song anyways. You don't listen to the whole album. It's one hit TikTok wonders with you. See, I'm old school. Iron Maiden needs to be played on a crank that volume up to 11 hi-fi system that would have rocked your balls off in the summer of 77. Now, the second song, Revelations, had that drive-in hook to start the song. This is what should have opened the album, and then it got softer, ballady start, but then it got driving again, an ebb and flow of the sound, and I really liked this song. Next, we delve into some Greek mythology with Flight of Icarus. Didn't blow me away, but a good song nonetheless. It was the first release from the album, and it did pretty good, peaking at number 3 in the UK. Now, Die With Your Boots On is track number 4 on the album, and it's okay. Didn't hate it, didn't love it. It's okay. Just to let you know. So if you're listening, just to let you know. So because I listened on Spotify, it just went to the next song. But in 1983, we would have had to get up, disrupt that cloud of smoke that may or may not be lingering in the air because you forgot to crack the window that you hope dissipates before your parents get home from their weekly Saturday trip to Sears, and flip that album over. So we kick off side 2 with The Trooper. Now, I don't know if they're singing about American State Troopers, the Canadian band Trooper who sang Raise a Little Hell, or something else, because honestly, I didn't understand most of the words he's singing, but that holds true of pretty much every song on the album, but not because he mumbles or anything like that. It's because I'm not hearing this with 16-year-old ears covered in oversized headphones with that 20-foot long curly cord, so you could lie on your bed, close your eyes, and zone out in the rocking sound. But because I'm old and the volume of a Michael Bolton album I find almost too much. Now, I love the beginning of the track of number 6, Still Life, because in 1983, it's the song that would have gave every evangelical preacher a little tingle in their nether regions, because it starts out with a hidden message that could only be understood by playing it backwards. And that is the shitty thing about Spotify. I could not play the song backwards, but if I was playing it on a late 20th century turntable, I'd be able to understand what these devil summoning words are. Of course, I do have the internet and Google, so I found out that the Beelzebub summoning sentence was, "What ho said the ting with the 3 bonds, don't meddle with things you don't understand," and he burped. What the hell that means? I don't know. It could be used to summon Satan, but I'm guessing it does not. Now, the real reason they did this was the band was tired of being labeled as devil worshippers. Good on you, Iron Maiden. And it's a great song, too. I had 2 problems with the next track, Quest for Fire. First, this should have been used as a film soundtrack. This would have totally kicked ass. Second, I'm a man of science. The world's not flat. We went to the moon, and Sir Isaac Newton had very little, if nothing, to do with cookies. But when the first line of a song is, in a time when dinosaurs walked the earth, and then 2 lines later it says, in an age where prized possessions was fire to search for landscapes men would roam, I have to put my foot down and call them out on it, because if I learned anything from Ross's endless speeches about dinosaurs on the TV show Friends, I learned that dinosaurs and humans do not share the same timeline on this planet. But outside of the inaccuracies of this scientific bungle, the song's okay. I don't mind it. Now with track 8, we are back to this rock and roll, baby, a driving beat that's about a teenage fighter / murderer. And this song is good. I really love this song. It's probably my favorite from the album. And finally, we come to the last song in this metal roller coaster of an album, To Tame a Land, a 7.5-minute epic that starts out slow, but you can feel the song wanting to just go like a thoroughbred pulling at its reins. And then it lets loose and starts to build speed, driving force, unleashing the metaphorical wind through your long rock and roll hair as you see the song's destination rising over the auditory horizon. And as you get closer, you slow down and realize this is the end of not only the song, but the entire album. And damn, it's a good song. I totally recommend this album. Unless you like science, then you're going to get pissed off with at least one of the songs. Out of 5? Oh, I'd give it a solid 3.25.
Okay, that's very specific. Awesome. I didn't pick up on that dinosaurs reference.
Do you know what the original title of Tame a Land was?
No.
It was originally going to be titled Dune because it was, like most of the tracks, it was inspired by what the band was reading at the time. And the song was inspired by Dune. And then they asked Frank Herbert for permission, and they got back from his agents. Frank doesn't like rock bands, and he especially doesn't like heavy rock bands. So they had to. It's still, if you listen to the lyrics, it's still very much about the book, but they had to change the title to not bring down the wrath of Frank.
Well, last year on a first date, I was taken to see, was it last year or the year before? I don't even remember now. It was that long ago because the movie was 4 fucking hours long. I was taken on a first date to see Dune Part 1. That is not a first date movie. There was never a second date. You can imagine why. Anyways, we'll move on very quickly. I just wanted to throw that in there because, what? How do you not like rock bands, for crying out loud? Goodness gracious me. Think the Kinks.
It was of a different generation.
Manfred Mann. Oh my God. Yeah, I know, but still. Anyways, okay, yeah, no, I didn't pick up on the dinosaur thing. Now, those Satan words were actually that was one of the band members impersonating a Caucasian journalist who quoted an African writer or philosopher or somebody like that.
It was Idi Amin.
That's it. So I don't know if that's cultural reappropriation of then you quoting him in your Canadian accent, JP.
I think we got to pass because I'm Canadian. We get away with a lot.
Yep.
It's hard to hate us.
But that's why I think it didn't make sense, because it was said in an accent.
And it was just nonsense, you know.
Yeah.
All that. I liked The Trooper. I didn't mind Still Life. I thought that was good.
The Trooper's a terrific song. It has that kind of I mean, it's based on the poem "The Charge of the Light Brigade," which is about a bunch of horsemen charging a Russian position in the Crimean War, and you listen to it, and it sounds like it's galloping. That like it literally sounds like horses galloping. And the song has gotten new popularity as I guess Ukrainians really like it because it's all about fighting the Russians. You can go on YouTube and see the very good actress Vera Farmiga singing a pretty badass cover of it.
Is that how I thought it was Familia. I thought it was an Italian for family. Oh, you don't know? Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I thought you had said it correctly. From now on, I'm not listening to anyone else's.
I think I said it right. A friend of mine is married to her little sister, so.
Well, then I'm listening to you. And,
yeah.
And if I get told I'm wrong, I'm blaming you for it.
It's all good. I have to say I have a soft spot for rock songs that are basically plot summaries of the rock singer's favorite movies. Yep. Like Where Eagles Dare. It is literally just a plot summary of the Richard Burton Clint Eastwood movie where they shoot like 200 Nazis.
Everything is lost on me.
Yeah, no, I think a really interesting thing about Iron Maiden as a band is that, like a lot of those bands, they started sounding very kind of slow and heavy, like Black Sabbath. But they're probably the metal band that's most influenced by punk and what was going on in punk at the time. There are little sections where they almost sound like the Ramones in places, which is unusual given that at the time metal was over here and punk was over there.
Yeah, I was going to say, listening to this album, it doesn't have that metal feel. It's obviously hard rock at least, but because metal goes in so many different ways that it has that Black Sabbath and UK feel to it.
It's versatile, like its namesake. Because there is, like, even mentioned before, David Bowie. That's glam. That's glam rock. That qualifies under metal, if you
I was
will.
going to say big sections of some of his early albums, like "The Man Who Sold the World," sound like Led Zeppelin with artier lyrics.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll need to do Led Zeppelin again for me to truly appreciate it. We did an album with Stairway to Heaven, and I just wasn't there for it.
Well, the nice thing about Stairway to Heaven is that it can start, you can leave the room, maybe get a snack, use the bathroom, then you come back and it'll still be on. You haven't missed it.
Oh, we'll move on anyways. It looks like the Iron Maiden found herself an Iron Man, so we're going to go to an ad break.
G'day listeners, Aaron here. While you're topping up your coffees, did you know that you can support our show and go on a fantastically scary adventure at the same time? Go to www.thetonistonTales.com/bookstore to grab your copy of The Toniston Tales, a darkly funny Aussie trilogy about a young boy who rescues injured animals in his spare time and the roller coaster ride he's taken on by a literal fish out of water. Written by me, the village idiot of Thrash and Treasure, you'll come to love Toniston Turnbull and the dozens of wacky characters that he meets along the way. And here is a sneak peek. After barely 3 hours of light sleep, Toniston Turnbull slowly opens his eyes, his body feeling heavier than it ever has before. Not from extra weight, from tiredness and stress. Polly sighs in the shadows behind him, the flame of the nearest barbed wire tiki torch tower having died down, but not out, while Toniston napped. "Are you awake?" Toniston whispers. "Oh, how can I sleep in this place?" Polly moans, turning onto her side and facing Toniston, who stays on his back, imagining obscure animal-esque shapes in the rusted tin roof above them, shadows faintly formed by the nearest dying torches. "We need to work out a way to get out of here," Toniston states the obvious. He whispers despite the fact the nearest shacks to their own are several meters away and the occupants presumably asleep, as most prisoners seem to be. "How? There's no fence to squeeze through or even climb," Polly replies, sitting up in bed and then stretching out her sore arms. The hairs stand on end from the slight chill in the air. "I don't know, but I think the whole fighting thing is a distraction." "You mean to distract the other prisoners when new ones arrive?" "No, I think that was just bad timing. Didn't you notice?" Toniston goes on to explain his theory. "That fight happened, everybody gathered around. I didn't see one person who wasn't watching, and then when I vomited, the only gate in this place closed shut." "What are you trying to say?" "I think something happened when everyone's back was turned." "Like what?" whispers Polly, her voice breaking up in fear. "I don't know. That's what we've got to find out." Toniston's brain starts working overtime, but it's strange that nobody seems to want to leave. They seem almost happy. Definitely content. So, when's the next one of those stupid beatdowns? Toniston can't help but think Polly looks tough, almost evil in the shadows as she asks. "I don't know," Toniston begins. But both teenagers are distracted by a crumbling noise in the distance. Hopping out of bed, Toniston joins Polly on her own, equally uncomfortable one, spotting a large, white package hovering close to the cave ceiling, behind it a shadowy figure. The package is lowered down, causing the teenagers themselves to lower as well, hoping not to be spotted by whom or what may be operating this obscure crane. Over a long, slow descent, the package is dropped to the ground. Polly keeps her eyes on it, but Toniston looks up immediately, spotting a large black shadow scurry away to God only knows where. "Come," he whispers, as he quietly hops off her bed, slipping into his docks with bare feet. Polly follows his lead. Careful to keep watch on all directions, the teenagers swiftly sneak over to the white package, their hearts beating an almost tribal jam in perfect harmony, and stopping in their tracks as the sudden realization of what lies before them sinks in. A woman, seemingly in her early 20s, wrapped up in bandages from the neck down. No, not bandages. "Is that spider web?" Polly asks, completely mortified at the prospect. Grab your copy of The Toniston Tales from thetonistonTales.com/bookstore today. Hooroo! All right, you're listening to Thrash and Treasure. I'm Aaron. That's JP Yovanoff from MTR, Be Our Guest, or MTR Radio. That's like saying an ATM machine from Musical Theatre Radio, and we'll put the details down below. And we are joined by the science factual, Zack Stentz. Now, you have worked on numerous high-concept projects. Do you ever get the urge to just write an 80s romantic drama that's not like superheroes or action?
That's not like big in genre. You know, I love genre, but I have some screenplays in my desk drawer that are much less genre. I have one that I'm very proud of that I wrote with my brother that's essentially a small town murder mystery where the main character is a bartender and a DJ, you know, who plays 80s alt rock records late at night in his small town and becomes convinced that a mixtape left for him by his long disappeared brother is filled with clues as to what happened. So I have written and I am writing things that are less overtly genre. But, you know, unfortunately, Hollywood is a place where when you get known for a certain thing, people want you to do more of that. You know, it's more difficult to get them to take seriously something in another genre, as it were.
Yeah. And when I say we were talking about that this morning, or 19 hours ago, I was ranting about that this morning, Andrew Lloyd Webber, actually, in terms of the expectations that he had on his career put on him in the 90s, where everyone was expecting things to sound like Phantom of the Opera or Cats. And so the shows that he kept releasing were under that critique from the audience, from the media, from everybody. Everyone was expecting it. And I don't think it's fair to artists to put that expectations. You should be able to write the genres that you want.
Yeah. And I think being creatively adventurous is how you renew yourself as an artist and challenging yourself to do new things. I really enjoyed writing for The Flash, for example, but like that's superhero muscle. Like I can do that in my sleep. I know where the act outs are. I know what the audience expectations are. You know, but what's exciting to me is to do something that I've never done before.
Peter Farrelly or Bobby Farrelly will come out with The Green Book or something like that and critically acclaimed. And,
you know, Craig Mazin went from, Hangover sequels and, superhero movie parodies to Chernobyl. And now The Last of Us.
Yeah. Wes Craven, look at his career that he did The People Under the Stairs. He did The Music from the Heart. He did Scream. And whilst a few of these are horrors, they're very different from each other.
John Carpenter, in the middle of all those horror movies, had Starman, which is this lovely romantic, kind of romantic science fiction film.
Yep. And then like even with comedy actors, Jim Carrey, The Truman Show. But then when you notice when this happens, like people then turn around and go, wow, we didn't know you could do this thing because you didn't give them a chance. Because you got stuck. It's that thing of Bart Simpson. I didn't do it. We hear something that's funny and popular and we want it done to death.
Yeah, that happens all the time in musical theater world. Like on The Flash, everybody, all of a sudden there's a musical episode. They can sing and dance. Yeah, obviously they did stuff before and they've been on stage or they've been in shows. And yeah, I'm just surprised. Well, I shouldn't be surprised that people are always surprised that, oh, you can do something different. You can write something different. You have, you're not just only writing it in this genre or performing in this way.
I think you see that a lot when actors and performers switch countries. You know, like Americans just know Hugh Laurie. You know, it's like he's the grumpy doctor who says jerky things, and then like the UK knows him for for goofy comedy.
Blackadder all the way.
That's it. And look, Hugh Jackman. Why isn't he sort of being used as that barometer of let's stop expecting artists to be one freaking thing? Anyways, I could rant about this for hours, but I'm not going to.
Yeah, I mean he was cast as Wolverine from a revival of Oklahoma.
Exactly. I saw him in 1996 as Gaston in Beauty and the Beast.
Wow.
Disney's Beauty and the Beast, the musical. He was fantastic. And then he went on to do Sunset Boulevard. Then he went to London, Oklahoma. And anyways, let's move on. Speaking of Hugh Jackman, how do you define star quality besides me, obviously?
It's like the famous Supreme Court definition of pornography. You can't always define it, but you know it when you see it. I'll give you an example. When I was working on X-Men First Class, I was our house was under construction, so I was hiding out in a little office next to the executive who on the Fox lot who was in charge of it. And I was working late at night. The executive knocked on my door and said, "Hey, you need to come and look at this. This is a chemistry read that we did for Magneto and Professor X." The chemistry read was it was James McAvoy, who had already been cast, and it was Michael Fassbender. And Michael Fassbender had just come off of the Freud and Jung movie that David Cronenberg did. So he had this big, ridiculous Daniel Plainview looking mustache that was incredibly distracting before he opened his mouth. And the second he opens his mouth, it's like, that guy's a superstar. You need to cast him. He just had that je ne sais quoi star quality to him that was unmistakable.
I love asking these questions. I only ever ask producers, directors, and writers this question because, well, I mean, I could ask actors, but you know what they're going to say. They're going to give the answer that I asked in the question. Me.
Yeah, it's like every time I look in the mirror, baby.
Look, there is nothing wrong with ego. I say it all the time. People have got to embrace it. They've just got to watch it. That's all. Don't take it too seriously.
For sure.
That's it. Okay, now, because you've worked on a lot of TV and you've worked with a lot of beloved characters, who has been one beloved character that you have been tempted to kill off, but knew the fans would riot? So who got a reprieve?
That is an excellent question.
Thank you, because you've been asked a million questions, Zach. Do you know how hard this interview was to write?
I would say, the big one that we went back and forth on was Loki in the first Thor movie. And it was a special case because they always knew he was coming back. But the big question was, do we end the movie still thinking that he's dead, and then you find out in the next Marvel movie that he's alive, or do you have that and then the stinger at the end is no, he's still alive? And but fairly quickly they came down on the no, we're setting up him as the villain of the Avengers. We need to see that he's alive. And I resisted that a little bit because it's like the big emotional thing at the end of the movie is Thor makes a terrible choice and sends his beloved brother hurtling off into the abyss so that he won't commit genocide, and that kind of takes it back. It kind of takes it back at the end of the movie. But I was overruled on that one.
That's a very Shakespearean story or film as it is, and especially having Kenneth freaking Branagh directed your screenplays. Like, holy crap! And now you're on my show. How far we fall?
No, it was a freaky thing having him essentially, when we were in rewrites and you're there in the room with him, it's like, okay, let's do this scene. I'll be Thor and you be Jane Foster. And, and so we're doing the scene. It's like, I'm doing a scene with one of the greatest Shakespearean actors of his era. And the only time it was a problem is that when Ken would, as some even the best directors do, sometimes have a not so great idea, he could make a bad idea sound good by delivering the line just that well.
Yeah, look, I don't usually ask that question of, what was it like working with this person? Because I think that's so insulting to people. However, you are a writer, and this was one of the greats directing your work. So what about in TV? Has there been a character in TV that you have wanted to kill off, but everyone said, no, you can't do that?
Again, in Camp Cretaceous, there was the thought of, are we actually going to kill, can we actually kill one of those kids at the end of the first season? And then very quickly we got back from Netflix, like, this is a kid's show. No, you absolutely can't. And then we get back, okay, well, can we at least have the audience think that he's dead for several episodes and then he comes back in the next season? And then we get back, it's like, no, you need to see his hand twitch at the end of the episode so that kids know that he's still alive. So that would be an example of, sometimes you have to remember who your audience is and what their expectations are. But it hasn't happened a lot. It's like, I wrote on The Flash. It's not like I'm going to kill off The Flash.
Yeah. I mean, well, you could have, but then his future self or his past self. Well, I don't know how his future self could have, but his past self could have come to the future and stopped his own murder.
See, DC and Marvel both going in so big on the multiverse, to me, kind of defangs, like, you can kill anyone and then just go to another universe and get a slightly different version of them. So it's like, it lowers the stakes in my mind.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I didn't want Marvel to go down that route at all because I thought it's just going to get messy for one thing, like storytelling wise. There's going to be so many threads, but then it just makes it too easy. And then I don't need Deadpool as part of the MCU. I know we're getting it. I love Deadpool 1 and 2, but I don't need it as part of that.
Are you going to be ready for all of the ironic jokes about now being part of Disney in the movie itself? You know those are coming, right?
I know. And the fanboys are going to go crazy for it. I'm going to be sitting there, I'm so bored. Just give me a good story. That's what I want. I want Kevin Feige to not listen to us. Do you think creatives and studios producers need to stop listening to fan demands of what they want from this franchise and that franchise?
Oh, absolutely. It is, like if you're a creator, you can't be a stenographer. You can't give people what they're demanding. You have to give them something that they had no idea that they wanted before they saw it.
Yes. I've said it before, the Agatha All Along serial. I don't need that. That comes from fan reaction. I'm going to watch it. I'm going to love it, but I don't need it. I think Kevin Feige should just follow his instincts like he has all along. Now, anyways, we'll move on. If you could turn any musical into a video game, what would it be?
Jesus Christ Superstar.
Wow, that'd be fun. And you got to avoid being crucified. God.
Exactly.
I'd offend so many people. Oh, speaking of offending people, can you do any celebrity impersonations?
I will not fire on helpless people. To hell with you.
Oh, Arnie.
That's my terrible Arnold.
Oh, wonderful.
I can do several bad celebrity impressions and no good ones.
Yeah, I'm totally with you on that one.
I'm like Paul Rudd in I Love You, Man. It all ends up sounding like a leprechaun.
Can you do any JP? I've never asked you this.
I can do one, but it's very damaging. It's Harvey Firestein.
Oh, Harvey Firestein. I can't do him.
Harvey Firestein here. How you doing there, Aaron? I would love to be part of the MCU at some point.
Oh, wonderful. Speaking of big stars, if you could write a star vehicle for any star from the golden age of Hollywood, who would it have been?
A star vehicle for someone from the golden age of Hollywood. Wow, that's a really good question. I would like the idea of like writing an original like film noir, or detective story for like a Humphrey Bogart or someone like that would just be, that would be amazing. Or writing something for Jimmy Stewart, there's so many greats from that era that it would be wonderful to go back in time and be able to write for.
Who would you say are the stars today, the movie stars, quote unquote? So I got Tom Cruise, definitely.
Yeah, I think Tom Cruise, Michael B. Jordan, Denzel's still doing it. Leonardo DiCaprio, who he doesn't put himself in franchise movies, but he's in hit after hit. We're in much more of a it's about the character, not the star. But there's still a few left.
I would argue it's more about the fan these days than it is even about the movies. But that's just me.
I think that's right.
It's something I rant about. Okay, now do you think the nerd media needs to calm the hell down with the clickbait headlines that spoil a film?
Absolutely.
Fucking oath.
It's not just the nerd sites, it's like the trade sites, like Deadline Hollywood,
yes,
which is supposed to know better, spoiled the new John Wick movie the day that it was out.
What?
In the headline.
What is wrong with these people? Seriously, stop ruining that for the rest of us, you assholes. Wikipedia needs a spoiler-free option. I think I told you about the simple English Wikipedia because you had asked about something. There's a whole simple English thing. So if there's any technical stuff you need to know on Wikipedia, look at the languages, simple English. They need spoiler-free.
That's a great idea. That's a really good idea. I mean, things like TV Tropes does a great job of that, of like all of the, of like big spoilers for like the different things are in blacked out and you have to scroll over it to get that. So it's an opt-in thing rather than an opt-out.
Yeah, it's caring about people's experience, enjoying it. Even just on Wikipedia and even sometimes on IMDb in the cast list, if a character is pretending to be someone else, it's going to have both character names in it. So you're going to find out who a killer is, or you're going to find out who a big reveal is purely by the cast list on freaking Wikipedia. But anyways, if you could set up a VH1 Divas Live of Marvel characters, which 4 or 5 ladies from Marvel would be in your VH1 Divas Live?
Or singing.
Singing, yeah, I guess.
It would be Jane Foster. It would be Nebula from Guardians of the Galaxy. It would be the Wasp from Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Yeah.
And it would be Black Widow. Yeah.
Now, what was the naughtiest you were as a preteen? Not a teenager. I don't want to know stuff you can get in trouble for. So the naughtiest you were as a preteen, as a little child.
I wasn't naughty at all. I was a very obedient, rules following kid. I would say the weirdest I was as a preteen would be I spent a year dressed up in a cat costume, going to school in a cat costume and demanding that everyone address me as Supercat.
Oh my God, that is wonderful. Have you mentioned this before in any interview?
No.
Oh, brilliant. Oh, I love.
So I still have like papers from when I was in kindergarten where, like the signature at the top of the worksheet was Supercat.
Oh my God, pics, or it doesn't happen. We'll wait till the episode drops. The world needs to see that. Holy moly, that is hilarious. Okay, now what's one question that the media and or fans ask so often that you just want them to stop? Please stop asking me this. I've answered it 100 times.
I don't get tired of questions very often. I guess it's like, don't ask me to reveal spoilers about something that hasn't come out yet.
Yeah.
That'd probably be my main one. It's like, I can't tell you that. The Marvel laser would incinerate.
Well, that's it. JP, have you got any?
I am always curious. When you were writing a series, like say The Flash, and you were writing for season 2 and 3, you wrote some episodes in there. How do you figure out the continuity? Do you go back and watch or read past episodes, or do you just have an idea of how that works?
If it's a show that I'm not super familiar with, I'll go back and watch like the kind of the important episodes, and then I'll do what everyone else does and go on Wikipedia and get the plot summaries that way. But the nice thing is that there are people on staff who their job is to track continuity and things like that, and I'll go to them and say, okay, what do I need to know? Like, what do I need to know? What like the first episode that I wrote for The Flash, it's like he had just been seemingly incinerated the episode before, and it's like, okay, so he's in the Speed Force. Yes. Okay, great. Then, like I got up to speed pretty quickly.
I'm always curious because especially if you get to like season 8, like you've got to figure out what has changed, and because fans will point that out.
Oh yeah, no, I remember, Ashley and I were up for a job on, like Smallville season 9 or something like that, and it was 9 seasons in. That's a lot to catch up on.
Yeah, the show Bible is what it's called, JP. A lot of them have, but I believe that the show Bible is maybe good for a couple of years and then it gets thrown away and people forget it.
Yeah, it would be bigger than a Cheesecake Factory menu.
But the fans don't forget.
No, the fans don't forget.
They're like, oh, that was not in his hand back then.
Yep.
Exactly.
Now, last question. What has inspired you the most, or the most inspired you've been whilst traveling?
The most inspired I've been while traveling was probably when I was traveling with my wife to Europe for the first time, and I'm an ancient history fanatic. Mm-hmm. And she had been there before. She took me to see the Forum in Rome. And my expectation was that it was going to be a little like acre-sized park with a couple of pillars. I didn't realize that they like preserved almost the entire thing, and that you could very easily visualize what it must have looked like 2,000 years before. Like that was the closest experience I've ever had to time travel. And I just found it tremendously inspiring.
Oh, wonderful. What, did you write anything from that?
Not specifically, but like traveling, all of those things are in the back of your head.
Yeah.
I'll give another example. I went to Nepal to do some teaching at the film festival there, and like seeing the Himalayas and meeting Nepali people. And I did end up writing a screenplay kind of based in Kathmandu, a little independent horror movie that we're in the process of trying to get financed right now. And that it was very much inspired by the people and the landscape.
Yeah. Oh, wonderful. Anyways, thank you so much. The listeners at home, I've been annoying Zach for months and months.
Finally happened. finally happened.
This show ain't famous. People aren't thinking about us, so I need to check in and say, is now good? Is it not good? If it's not, that's fine, because we're keeping the show going anyways, so don't stress. It's all good. So thank you so much. It is an absolute honor.
It's been a pleasure.
Terminator, Sarah Connor Chronicles, all your work. Goodness gracious me, I'm so thrilled. So quickly before you go, where can people find you on the social medias?
You can find me. It's a very stupid pun. It's Muzak on Twitter, like the elevator music, except it's MUSEZACK. I'm also on Instagram under that very same handle. So although my Instagram is almost all just pictures of my dogs.
That's fine. That's wonderful. I used to be so jealous until a year and a bit ago, and then I got a puppy.
Excellent. Yeah, it's awesome.
Oh, well, JP, where can people find you on the social medias?
Easiest thing to do is just go to the website, www.musicaltheaterradio.com. You can just click on, our Twitter account or our Instagram account, our Facebook account, any of that stuff. Depends on where you're looking. It's slightly different because somebody stole MTR for Twitter. So I could not use it. It's MTR_tweets for Twitter, and for everything else, it's just Musical Theater Radio.
3 W's or triple W?
Triple W.
Why don't you just say 6 U's?
I could, or I could just say it in French. WWW.
You idiot.
It's a bilingual country. Legally, I have to use at least French twice a day.
Yeah, Australia is a bilingual country too. We speak English and illiterate. Alrighty, that's it from us for this week. A huge thank you to Zach for joining us, and of course to JP for stepping in at the last minute. Thank you so much. It's funny because for the listeners at home, I call him JP. Obviously, his name is John Paul. But besides that, I call him JP because that is Jurassic Park, and it just so happens that he happened to be on the episode where we had Zack Stentz, who created Camp Cretaceous. So isn't it funny how life works? I got a total giggle out of that. I'm sure it frustrated JP because he's like, well, fucking shut up with the Jurassic Park shit by now. Anyways, you can catch us on Twitter at Thrash and Treasure, on Instagram at Thrash and Treasure Podcast. We're on YouTube and all the stuff, Facebook. Buy the Toniston Tales, read the Toniston Tales. You can leave a review if you like. Leave a review for this podcast, whatever amount of stars you feel we are worth. You can also find our other host, Matt the Quizmaster, on his podcast, The Story Chunder, as well as our podcast, Get Popped on Culture. If you're in the Utah area, you can catch Mr. J-Wags, who will be playing Willy Wonka coming up at the Tuacan Amphitheater. He will also be in Tarzan and Hunchback of Notre Dame. However, he's playing Willy Wonka in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. So make sure you grab tickets to that because he really is an amazing performer. Anyways, we're going to take a couple of weeks off because, like I said a few episodes ago, I was going to do about 4 or 5 episodes, maybe 6, and then take a break. I ended up doing 10, so I'm really tired, and I'm going to go to bed. Anyways, thanks for listening. Stay tuned after the episode for a sneak peek of next week's episode of And the EGOT Goes To by Spencer and his panel of experts. You be good to each other and take care, and we shall see you next time. Uru.
Such a pleasure. We'll talk another time. Take care.
All right. You take care.
Like Quicksand!
Coming up next week on the Bloop Network.
Best Play, I have the nominees as Leopoldstadt, Life of Pi, Fat Ham, Prima Facie, and Cost of Living.
I have Fat Ham, A Christmas Carol, Ain't No Mo, Pictures from Home, and Life of Pi. And the first half of that category is purely because they are Black cast. That's the only reason. I don't care if they're good or bad, but that is the only reason they're there. And if you don't like it, you can fight me.
I think whether or not Life of Pi ends up in Best Play is the most interesting conversation to have, because I think there's a chance that it doesn't, because I think
Yeah.
like And I really like Life of Pi. I liked the story. I liked the book. A lot of people do not. And I think, and maybe I'm just completely blinded by the scenic design of it all, but I don't have it in my best play because I think ultimately, like, they're going to be like, it got scenic. It doesn't need
Wow.
best.
That would be huge. And I haven't even seen the show yet. I feel like that would be a huge snub if it doesn't get best play, a nominee.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, everyone I know that's seen it outside of like me and 2 other people have been like, oh, it's really pretty, but I don't like the story, or like I didn't like the book, or like I thought it was written for children. And I was just shocked because when I saw it in London, it was like one of the best things I've ever seen. And then people have just been so negative about it, but I don't know how the nominators feel about it. I didn't even read the reviews, so I actually don't even know what the reviews said. But positive, okay.
They're positive.
Yeah,
they're pretty positive. Because in my opinion, Leopoldstadt, Life of Pi, and Fat Ham are the shoo-ins, and then the last 2 can go to whatever. I had Thanksgiving play Goodnight Oscar, but I could also see it being Prima Facie, especially with the Olivier win, and how late it's coming in the season and how good she is, and it's just a good play.
I will also say about Goodnight Oscar, the play itself, when I saw it, needed a lot of work. Probably the most work I've ever seen needed from.
you saw first preview.
I did see first preview.
Oh, because I'm saying, because like everybody I've talked to who saw it said it was like one of the best things they've ever seen.
Which I'm like in Chicago or Invited Dress.
In Chicago, and then also in both.
Yeah, because when I saw it, it needed so much work, but the performances were so incredible. So I'm excited to get to see it again because I really hope they did